Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. My dear students, I welcome you again today in this another very important talk on the teaching of listening. We have been previously talking about the importance of listening, the stages of listening, teaching listening, the forms of listening, the principles of listening. Today we are going to talk about something very important before we move into the practical exercise of teaching of listening and pre-listening exercises and while listening and post-listening exercises, and we'll be also focusing on what are the stages involved in the teaching of listening. So I thought today to explain to you the importance of lecture listening before we talk about other things. Now I hope everybody understands what is a lecture, and this is what all you have been through for several years, and particularly in university for last 4 years. You understand what is a lecture and how do we listen it, and you all are more or less have got some kind of experiences with you to remind you that how do you feel and respond to your lectures once you listen them in your classes. You got a lot of teachers in your classrooms, and many of them have got their own styles of talking and explaining and presenting the information in the classes. So like the teachers are different, so is the difference of the students and learners of English, or learners for that matter in any subject. They're also very different. So the point is, how do you see that lecture listening is going to contribute into the development of your spoken language, or into the development of your listening skills? Because I said listening and speaking are very integrated. So my dear students, the point to note here today is that as a good listener, as an active listener in class, you need to be aware that lecture listening contributes significantly in the development of your spoken language. Of course, as I said in the beginning, it is a route to information. It is the window to your knowledge that you get from your teachers. But at the end of the day, it is something that is going to be potentially significant in the development of your own speaking skills, no matter of what level of your competence is, whether you are a low-level student, you are a mediocre, you are a very advanced level of student. But lecture listening is going to contribute very significantly in your development of a spoken language. So, because every lecture that you listen in your degree program is a part of a very larger program that runs for a semester and then for years. So the prints of these lecture talks that you listen are very deep on your minds and hearts. So the important thing is that if as an active listener you understand what the dynamics of lecture listening basically are. Now, when we talk about lecture listening, we need to also understand that there are different styles that every teacher brings in class. You know, you got a lot of experience. You got teachers that you see follow some kind of reading style in which he's taking he's speaking from the notes he has, and he's reading quite aloud. So at times he looks at as if he has little to say than more than the notes that he has, the slides or the PowerPoint he has. So he's speaking from there. So this is what we call as reading style of lecture. Then the second style, very popularly known as the conversational style or the interaction style, in which we see a teacher has got some notes and then he keeps on talking about explaining the facts with the help of those notes, but he speaks more himself than from the notes. So then the third style of learning, our third style of lectures is that when we got a teacher who's very rhetorical, and his style is very rhetorical, and he keeps on talking and talking and talking, and you are there to face all the challenges of speed and problems, whatever they are. But you find this style also very interesting. Many of you find this style very interesting because you are very much impressed by the dynamics of speech rather than the content it carries. So this style at times, moves into digressions, or do kind of some kind of a distraction from the main topic. But anyway, well, we have got all these different three very popularly known learning styles, or lecture styles of teachers. So as students, you all face all the three or maybe many more styles. For example, I will add one more style into it now, the one that I am using it. I'm using this online classes for last few weeks, and then using these video talks to explain to you and to reach out to your to LMS, and then talk to you about different important topics in the course. So this is an additional new, going to be a very new and an important style of a lecture which we can aid in the wake of COVID-19, the pandemic that has brought us through this situation. So my dear students, it's very important to understand when you are in a class that what is the style of a lecture, and how that particular style is going to help you and fulfill your needs, and it is you who only can understand the needs that you have. Then the second important thing that I would like to speak today is about the challenges and the difficulties that arise from listening to lectures. Many times our students are not prepared simply to digest or understand the lectures, and they do not have that stronger level of willingness. So what actually constitutes at the end of the day is some kind of a very poor listening, hardly remembering the topic. Remembering the topics that we listen in the lectures is always very challenging, and we have a lot of studies also in this direction that inform us that whenever you listen to a lecture, you forget 80% of the information after 1 hour, after a few hours. So my dear students, listening to lectures and retaining the information for a longer period of time, you need to realize how complex operation is this once you are going to listen information from your teachers and understand and develop your own spoken language. So I would like to just point out a few difficulties that you need to be aware of while listening to lectures. For example, number one is the physical setting of the classroom. How do you feel yourself once you are in a classroom where you got to see a teacher standing in the front, and you got 100 chairs around you, you got a very huge crowd, and then you see there are a lot of other visual aids or audiolingual aids or some other aids around you. How do you feel in that environment? Do you enjoy the level of confidence to listen and concentrate on the talk, or you don't? So the first thing is the physical setting, or the context that you move in for about 40 minutes or 60 minutes or more than that. So it's realizing the physical presentation of or the context of that lecturer in that particular lecture is very, very important. Then the second important thing is that what are your expectations from the speaker, from the lecturer or the teacher, the professor who is going to talk to you? What do you think about him? What are your perceptions about him? How do you predict he is going to talk to you? How do you predict he is going to explain, ask, or answer your questions? How do you feel about his speed, his accent, his presentation of facts, his use of a multimedia, whiteboard, handouts, what he does? So I mean, in a way that is very interesting and significant for English language listeners to realize at the first place that the speaker they are going to listen in class, they know something about him. So the more you know about him, the more you can predict about him, the more you are familiar with the style of his lecture, or the more you are familiar with the style that he has, is very important. Then the third difficulty that most of the students encounter is in terms of the subject he explains, he talks, or he is teaching about. Now, the problem is that when we as teachers begin our lectures, we see there are only some students who respond to our lectures in the classes, but a big majority remains silent, quiet. At times, the teachers have to jump out to chairs and then see, well, what are you doing? Are you listening to me or you're not listening to me? So the reason is that the students are least interested in the subject or on the topic that is under discussion. So if the students are not very well prepared in terms of information they are going to receive, they will not listen properly. They will not enjoy listening. They will not be motivated. They will not be properly charged with the belief that this listening or this talk or this subject is going to increase their knowledge, and it is probably the first and the last time that they are going to listen somebody like that teacher, and then they may not have this opportunity. So it was better to listen him as much as they can with all the concentration into it. So then the importance of subject at times is very challenging. But if the student is not ready, if he is not well read, if he is not very well prepared to listen to the topic, he is not going to take the benefit of listening. So only those who are prepared will be taking the benefit of that listening or that information that the teacher is giving them in their talk. The fourth and the important, the last thing is that the language of the teacher. I mean, do you find it challenging? Do you find it easy? Do you find it problematic? Do you find it comfortable? How do you find the language? How do you have always, when you come to an English language class, you always have a teacher that you expect to be meeting your needs if you are a very well responsible student. So if you are very well prepared, you will be expecting the quality and the stuff from your teacher. So, and you already know it, you already expect a lot from it. So the point is, what are you expecting about his language? I mean, do you take it seriously? Do you take it very lightly? Do you think that the language that is used by the teacher, by the lecturer in your classroom is going to help you? Is going to help you, let you grow, or it is going to decrease your level of motivation and your skills and your thinking and your power of perception? It is going to, not help you as much as you're expecting. So the language of a teacher or a lecturer in a class that he goes and teaches is significantly important. If it is according to the needs of learners, then it is going to help them a lot. If it is not according to the context, according to the level, according to the needs, then definitely it is not going to contribute anything to the learning process of the students. So my dear students, it was very important for me to share with you a few prerequisites. I mean, I should say a kind of a basic requirement for good English language listener when you're going to an English language class, or I should say any class that you go and listen to, because lecture listening is part and parcel of every student's life. It's very important for every student to get the maximum out of a lecture. So how would you do that? You can only do that once you are aware of the challenges that you will be encountering. You will be facing the gravity of the subject, how serious it is, how serious you are, how the teacher is powerful enough to explain it, or he is just reading it out, or he is explaining with the help of notes. So all these things and all these factors are going to contribute in developing your listening skills. So with all this said, I hope that our next talk would be on the role of note-taking in developing listening skills and developing the spoken language. So by then we will be reading these notes from the book Study Listening by Tony Lynch, Cambridge University Press, 2004. I would like you to keep reading this book, and I'll be sharing with you these short videos and the basis of my own experience and what research has informed us on the topic. So take special care of yourself. See you very soon, inshallah. Thank you very much. Allah Hafiz.